Welcome everyone to the Water Pollution Control Authority. Our August meeting, today is August 18th, 7 o'clock. And are there any proposed changes to tonight's agenda?
Chairman, I'd like to make an adjustment to the agenda. I'd like to motion to move the discussion for this establishments of rates to the last item of new business.
Is there a second? Second from Christian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It would be unanimous. Quinn, Christian, Ron, Mark, Joe. Okay. First item tonight in front of us is the approval of the July 21st, 2021 meeting minutes. Comments, questions? Joe, thanks for running point on those. Reminds me it was a Matt, good evening.
Hello, Matt.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion.
Ron Drew makes a motion to approve the July 21st meeting minutes. Is there a second? See a second.
I'll second.
Matt,
Oh,
all in favor? Aye, that would be
aye.
Ron. Chris,
Aye for Quinn.
Aye from Quinn. Thank you, Quinn. That's unanimous. Moving on to new business tonight. First item in front of us, pursuant to the agenda, is to hear and discuss a request by Sacred Heart University on future growth and sewer flows to the university. I understand that is being tabled to next month. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so we will take no action on that. The next item, to hear, consider, and act on a request by Olson Built Homes at 745 Hulls Highway to release the remaining sewer bond. The department, give us an update on this.
Yes, the work was completed. The town actually repaved the road over there. There was an outstanding bond amount of $4,885 that is being set to be released per the approval tonight.
Okay, so the department's satisfied that the work is complete.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion to approve?
Mark, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the release of the remaining bond in the amount of $4,885 for 721 Hulls Highway construction, which was secured by the work for the sewer line extension.
Is there a second?
This is Quinn, I'll second.
One second. Comments, questions?
Chris, I assume the work was done satisfactory. Do we have to do
Yes.
anything? It was a sewer line extension, my understanding, reading
was-
the documentation. Do we need anything from for the town to take it over?
No, we've basically taken it over. They've given us an as-built of the project, and we have all the necessary requirements that were requested. So
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye for Quinn.
Quinn's aye, so that's unanimous. Moving right along, discussion on the MPDES permit. This is the outfall into the Long Island Sound. Is there an update from the department on this?
Well, I just included this just for informational points of views for everyone. This is something every wastewater treatment plant in the country has to get.
Mhm.
Some states have state pollution discharge elimination system permits. Others have national, and then we have a national in Connecticut. We have to apply 6 months before the present permit expires. So we were in plenty of time. We were in back in March. Our permit doesn't expire till November 1st. Not that we'll get it back from the state. We'll still run under probably the existing permit. The department's gone through it. Nothing's really changed in it. They've actually taken a couple things out that were kind of nuisance for us. So it makes it a little more streamlined for us. So we do like what they've done. So seems like someone just
Yeah, I'm
joined.
gonna-
Can they mute?
Aye.
Hi. Can you mute for now? Because there's a lot of background noise.
I didn't know if you were taking a
I'm in a bowling alley. I'll put it on mute.
Okay. So like I said, that's just basically for informational points. So if anybody has any questions, if at any times you haven't had a chance to review it, it comes up in review. There's always a fee when anything you do anything with it and submit to the state. So that's taken into our operating budget. It's reflected in our operating budget.
Joe.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you need us to approve that 1,600, but you answered the question. So my other question is, when we had that storm, and you had reported that instead of 9 million, we processed 27 million gallons that particular period. What happens with the permit? Anything at all?
No, nothing at all, other than the fact that they know that we're getting a lot of inflow and infiltration into our system, and that they see that we have bypasses, and that was one of the big triggers of our facilities plan, and now going into the design, is that we're at 90% of our capacity. So that's one of the triggers. Usually another trigger is 20 years, a facility that's over 20 years old. They usually like to see them do a facilities plan. If you have a lot of NPDES violations, whether it's BOD, TSS, fecal coliform, any of the parameters that are set in the NPDES permit, they'll want you to go through a facilities plan too and see what kind of upgrade your plant needs to address those. So any kind of shortcomings that the plant has usually triggers, if not a shortcoming, an age.
And that 9 MGD is that's an average, right, Bill?
That's a daily. That's the maximum daily average.
Right.
I think that our peak wet weather is like 24, but the plant is done up to 33. Now the difference is peak wet weather is obviously what it means is during rain events and things like that.
Right.
Our average daily flow of 9 million gallons a day is what we should be treating based on the capacity of the treatment facility. Again, going back to the facility plan, when we looked at our facilities plan that Ray Pierce prepared, plus the facilities plan that Stearns and Wheeler did about 23, 24 years ago, again, a lot of our flow, almost 50% of our flow is inflow and infiltration. And that's what we've been doing is as removing a considerable amount, because we would have experienced a lot of these bypasses in 1.5 inches, 2 inches, maybe 2.5 inches of rain previously. But now it took up to 5 inches in 20 hours to get us to the point where we started really bypassing, where the system just couldn't handle it. And again, that's only the east trunk line. The west trunk line, we had no bypasses on. And none of the pump station bypassed. We had some alarms and high wet wells, but none bypassed.
Okay.
Thank you, Bill.
It's remarkable that the permit's only about $1,000 more than the cost to publish the notice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a 50% decrease, because municipalities receive a 50% decrease.
Okay, so appreciate the heads up on that. That's the first time I've seen it, and I think that was very useful. But there's no action required, correct?
No, actually, I think we've already got, all of our approvals. There's a 30-day comment period. Like I said, we reviewed it. We've got some comments they're going to send back. Nothing earth-shattering. So we were very happy with what came through. Now, that's to say we give the comment back, it goes to the public hearing, they go through all that, but we may not see the permit for 2.5 years. We'll still operate under the existing one. It's not uncommon. It's basically the state being the state and taking their time. But if it was on the other foot and I didn't prepare this and get it in within the 6 months, we would have got fined.
Is a city such as Bridgeport, are they current with their permitting?
I would imagine they would have to be. I'm not sure about them. That's one of the things DEP is really critical on, because the EPA gets on them if they're not. And then if they're not, either one of them are not getting it. It's the illegal firms like Save the Sound and Friends of the Environment and things like that get after everybody and say they're too laxed and they're not doing the right things.
Okay.
There's
That's where all the lawsuits
significant
start.
fines associated with not having up-to-date NPDES permits.
It's one of the things they continually notify you about and make you aware of. This is like the 5th or 6th one I've done at facilities.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, let's continue to old business. I'm sorry, we have the rate discussion that we moved on tonight's agenda. So, Joe, I'm gonna just hand that directly over to you to lead us in that discussion.
Okay, so I had submitted to everybody, I float a Excel spreadsheet. Which had some assumptions on it. I hopefully everybody got it and at least got a quick look at it. Our current rate 2020 is $4.45 per 100. The usage, now Chris, the way I looked at the usage report, and I think you need to confirm it for me, is basically flat. Overall town usage, is that still a correct assumption on my part?
Correct. Yeah, it's basically 82. I think I figured it was 82 CCFs different from last year.
Mhm.
Yeah, basically flat. So,
So really what I looked at then was, I put together, if you have that spreadsheet, I put together a chart that basically shows the rate for what we have to cover in expenses. For 2021, we have to cover at minimum the department expense. And that was $6 million gross. I mean, we have to cover the department's expense net, but I figured that between net and gross, it's about 450,000. So we'll use that as a reserve, that extra money. So $4.14 would cover the money we needed to cover the gross amount of the department plus 500,000 in reserve. It would cover about $6.5 million. We are already up at $4.45 because of our philosophy. We want to build the rate based on what we see as incremental costs going forward, significant incremental costs going forward. The next thing I did was I took what I saw as the bonding we're going to need to do for a whole series of projects based on the waterfall we had provided the town. And I put together that chart that shows what we need to do over the next 5 years, from 2021, which we're in now, through 2026. So if you look at that, this year we need to cover at minimum $6.5 million. Next year, 7.33. I raised the department expense 3%. I continued that out for 5 years. And then I added on the bond costs for the hardening project, the Easton Pump Station, Stratfield, East Trunk Line, the plant preliminary design, the plant final design, and the plant construction. And you can see where we go from about 6.5 million all the way up to 12.33 million per year. Then what I did was I layered on what the rate should be to cover that. And I started with a rate in this year going forward, 2021 through 2022. A 3% increase would bring us up to $4.58, which would cover $7.1 million in total. And our coverage is based on variable costs, variable customers, the customers we charge a variable rate, and those 3,000 customers that we charge a fixed rate to. So the fixed rate customers, we get $470,000 from them. If we raise the rate this year to $458,000, the variable cost would be $6.6 million. So that would bring in a total of $7.1 million to cover the $6 million, the $6.5 million we need, roughly. So we'd be covered with a 3% increase to $458,000. That was the first part of what I looked at. Then I started looking at what we needed to cover those other costs for 2022, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, et cetera, all the way down. And you can see I increased it from 458 to 490 to 515 to 540 to 567. That pretty well worked beautifully to cover those expenses we needed to do the bonds. At this point, I'm going to stop because I've thrown out a lot of information and hopefully everybody was following me. But I just want to see if anybody has any questions.
Okay, so this is Quinn. Can you talk about the red problem?
Yeah, well, I stopped short of 2026, Quinn, because that's
Okay,
when
all
the
right, all right.
plant, that's when the plant comes on, full bore. And that's a different discussion. We never decided and we never talked to the town about how that share would be covered, whether it's 100% us. These numbers show it's 100% us. And in which case you could see I raised it 10% and it still wasn't enough to cover that 12 million we're going to need out there in 2026.
Okay. All
Okay,
right, now.
so that was the red that you saw in the problem.
Matt,
Right, so you came up with 9.7 and not 12.
That is correct. So
Okay.
based
I
on
noted-
the assumptions I made with the rate increases, I mean, obviously we could increase the rates more and get to a point where we're comfortable.
Now, I'm noticing that, I mean, we've got the reserves of roughly 12 million, and then over the next 5 years, we're adding an additional 3 million to that. So assuming no accidents or problems or any of that type of stuff, we'll have a reserve of up to 15 million by 2026. I'm also noticing though, the construction costs we're estimating at 59 million for 2026. So
Yes,
how's
that was the
how is
original.
it 12 as opposed to 59?
Well, that's 59 million in construction bonding. And then the
Oh,
plant
over 20 years, okay.
final design added to the other 5 million. That was the original estimate. And we've seen all the projects blow past our estimates, but
Sure,
that was
yeah.
the 64 million in total.
Okay. So, I mean, this is great, I think, for a 5-year outlook. The only problem is with such a big project hitting in 2026, what is the next 5 years look like? Because, I mean, one thought I have is we accept the shortfall in 2026, just knowing that we can cover the delta in reserves, but we can't do that if we're going to have an ongoing multi-year problem where we're always going to have a deficit. There's only so much reserve we can tap into before we're going to end up getting screwed over between 2027 and 2035.
Very good observation. That $12 million we need in 2026 is composed of all that bonding and a 3% increase in the department. I don't have a crystal ball. I mean, that's just an assumption. So that 1233 will be up at 13 the following year, most probably.
Right.
And therefore rising up.
So, I mean, obviously, I would want more detailed information, but I mean, I'd be inclined to say we need to, 3% might be too little for this year. I mean, nobody's going to like the 7% following year. I mean, and we're going to be in trouble in a couple of years to pay for the plant project. But that's
That was
what
the purpose of why I tried to put this together,
yeah.
to show we're great in the early years, but where we go out, we need to be doing some long-term thinking.
And I guess the only other question, I think I brought it up last time, but I'm just curious what the comparable rates are for other municipalities in the area. Does anybody know that, or?
there have been some studies done over the years. We're consistently in the kind of lower quartile.
We're in the lower quarter, correct? Yeah.
Ty and Bond did a study both on water and sewer rates, Matt. We were, as they said, we're on the quarter low side. I can forward you that study tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, especially for communication purposes, nobody nobody
Actually-
likes to hear the rates are going up, but if
Actually-
we showed,
I think it's right on their website.
oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're by far and away, I think, one of the most effective and efficient departments it's certainly in Fairfield County, if not in the state. Yeah, I was thinking that it's, I think for most of the users, they're actually paying less to have their gray water processed than what they're paying for their water from Aquarium, which is pretty remarkable.
So Joe, this is Quinn. I got a question for you. What is the rate that equals 12 million? Or even 13 million?
That rate at that last year, meaning where I have the 10 and that's showing a problem, it's closer to 16%, Quinn.
So that would be, what, 16% greater than 5.67?
5.6, yeah. So
And then we would break even, you're saying?
it would be about $7 and change. Let me,
Yeah. Let me, I think the only comment I have is a few years ago, Joe and I were in front of the Board of Finance, and the question was, you guys are sitting on a lot of cash and you're increasing rates, and the optics of that are difficult to understand. So I think at some juncture, we're going to have to use some of our cash in lieu of bonding so that we don't continue to increase rates and stockpile cash, because it's just a difficult story to tell.
I agree, Mark, but I think that this is telling that story. I mean, we're going to be dipping into those reserves to pay for the plant upgrade. In order to not, I think we should be front loading rates a little bit more as far as increases versus in 5 years be dealing with 10 to 15%.
I agree but what we know are that these capital projects the gestation period is exceptionally long.
Right.
We have projects underway now. I think that we need to think about using some combination of our cash and bonding as we cash flow these projects over the course of the next couple of years. I don't think that's a discussion for tonight, but I think it's a more of a modeling exercise as we go forward.
And we have 7 other pump stations that are going to need upgrading at some point.
Oh, Bill. Those aren't even on the list.
Yeah, those aren't in the plan, right? Those aren't in the plan.
No. The other thing that's out there that we can't quantify, but at some point in time, there may be government funding or aid for those who have project-ready, shovel-ready projects. We can't bank on that,
Right.
but periodically we have a fire drill trying to get in line for those. So that's something for informational purposes only. Joe, what is you've done a great job. There's consultants who do this for a living. We're fortunate that we have you on the commission to do this sort of modeling and for us. What is your recommendation?
put me on the spot, Mark. I have I heard the comment about front loading. I have a problem with that in my own mind. I've got to take my own prejudice out of it. We're well above where we should be. To cover us this year, we need 414. We're already at 458, so we are doing some front loading. Or at 445, we're doing some front loading. I'm also cognizant the town this year again did not raise. I think their tax increase was under 1%. It was in the fractional point. And I think we're going to have a hard time when we announce even a 3% increase. That's where I keep running into things. I guess from my point of view, we need to increase it at minimum 3% this year. And if I had to make a recommendation, probably 5% this year. and swallow hard when we get the feedback from the town residents, that where are we going with this? But unless we get on that plane that gets us up to $7.20 in 5 years, we're going to have a problem. My other concern is I use the estimates we have for the projects right now. We have not brought a project in recently for less than 2 or 3 million above those estimates.
Sacred Heart Pump Station.
Yeah,
Way to go, Chris.
3.2 million, where our estimate was 1.9.
Oh,
We also sort of offset that though with the force main, which was 3 million, and it came in at 1.9 plus a little overrun, maybe 2 million. So that we came out luckily okay on net. But the East Trunk line and this plant going out 5 years, I'm not sure we have the right numbers in there.
I agree. 100%.
So, I mean, I could
So I got
support
one last-
anything between 3 and 5% this year if you're asking me where we should be and get us on that path to try to get up to $7.
This is Quinn. Just so I want to make sure I understand this. The 467.25 is the average yearly bill that we're sending to our clients. I mean, to the users of the sewer system. Is that correct? The 467.25?
467 right now is the average, right? Our average customer is 105 CCFs, and rating that out by the 445, it's $467. Correct.
Okay. All right. So if we go up to 5%, everyone's bill is going to increase by less than $30.
5% would be $23, $24 roughly. Yes. That is correct.
Joe,
Just
nice
making sure I'm
job.
reading your table correctly.
So that's about $40 a month. Or the average water bill's got to be for one of these users has got to be 50% more than that. 60 maybe a month. Is there any one of us who has a average bill around 480, 460? No. Okay.
Well, I was looking at my street alone, or my area, and and they all range between $200 and $300. So I think you did a great job, Joe, and I was looking at 5%.
Christian, what are you thinking? You're on mute. Christian, you're muted.
Still muted.
Hello?
You're good.
There we go. So, my questions were, how do we pay upfront with some cash on some of these projects to maybe bring that amount bonded down over time? I think, Mark, you brought that up. And if I'm looking at this, I think 5% is a fair starting point and would set us up, even if we're looking at having to increase in 2023, 24, a little bit more than with what Joe has in his spreadsheet. It gives us a good place to jump off to and just jump from and to start with without really hitting in the pocket too hard.
Plus, I think by jumping it to 5%, you can reevaluate it at the end of the year because of inflation. We don't know what the end of this year is going to bring us as far as pricing, people in their pockets type of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, Ron. Recent projects that Bill's been running point on, there's been incredible price inflation on those materials.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion
Yeah.
to go to 5%.
I just have a few comments, and I don't know how this is going to play into it. Just for accounting purposes, with dealing with bills and so forth, it's easier if it's based on a 5-cent increment. So I don't know if that's how that would play into it. Years past, we went from 390 to 445. I don't know if we want to go to 470 or 465 and how that would affect the number. If we were to go to that number, but that's just our suggestion. So, just for accounting purposes.
All right, Chris, taking that into account, the 5% would bring us to 477. So we could round it to 475.
Yeah.
If the committee agrees, the commission agrees.
Chris, was there another point?
The only other point that I have or comment is, obviously we can't set the rate today. We have to set a date for a public hearing. So we should do, or we need to do that at this meeting as well. So, along with the motion, I think we need to set, a date for the public hearing.
Chris, I know we send the bills out by October 1.
Yep.
How much time for the process? So in other words, backing out from October 1,
Yep.
How much time do they need to get this number, to get the bills out on time?
Good point. So I talked to Linda from QDS yesterday. They have significant time before the 15th of next month, which is our meeting, to process the bills. As long as we vote on it on the 15th, we would let them know on the 16th. They send us a proof back. We review it, and then they can process the bills and get them out by October 1st. So there is time. So we don't need to. The question came up the other day whether we need to schedule a special meeting or not, but we do not.
Chris, can you do me one favor? I just heard what you said.
Yeah.
If Linda runs into trouble, can
Yeah.
you just ask her one more question? And we can always schedule a special meeting, but I'm about
Sure.
to make a motion to do it at our next scheduled meeting.
Sure.
But if she needs extra time, something goes wrong in her process, where does that put her against our next meeting? Just
Okay.
ask her that question. If she says she's fine, even if they have to run it 3 times to get it right and
Right.
still get the bills out.
Okay.
That will, in my mind, that will tell me we need to move our meeting up. We have to
Move
do
it
a
up.
special meeting.
We'll have to have
Otherwise, we could do it at our meeting.
Correct. Okay. All right. We'll have a special meeting if need be. So.
Chris, I have a question.
Sure.
How much lead time do we have to give the public? Does that have to be posted in local papers that we'll have a public meeting on the use?
Oh, the lead time for the public hearing is 10 days.
10 days. So it backs it up to Labor Day is what it does.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if we set the date for the public hearing today, I'll notify them tomorrow to start the process for the public hearing. So it has to be published in the paper. They only publish on Fridays. So I think if we get it out tomorrow, we can get it in the paper for Friday. So I'll have to confirm that tomorrow, but we deal with this citizen so quite a bit. So I think they can get it in.
Let me ask, if asked, how much debt have we taken out over the course of the last year for these projects? Do we know? Joe, do you know?
I don't
The,
know. I know that as of this budget that just passed that we're in now, I believe it was,
85,000, Bill.
I thought it was 85. I thought it was 81, but
I rounded it probably.
okay. I thought it was 81. That was for the
That's the
bond.
interest. Mark, that's the interest on the bonds they've taken out for Sacred Heart project, basically.
Eastern Turnpike.
Yeah, the Eastern Turnpike, call it that. Sorry.
That was yeah.
Okay, so this is Quinn. I just gotta just refresh my mind here. So Chris said that it's best to have these as either zeros or fives. Is that correct? Is that
Yeah,
what you
just
said?
for accounting purposes, it's just a little bit easier. So
Okay, so when we talk about this in front of everybody, what is our rates then that we're looking at? We're going to look at 460, 470, or 475, or even higher? Is that correct?
I think
Sounds like the
5%
motion's coming in.
becomes 477. I just rounded it to 475, and I think we could still call it a 5% increase. I don't have a calculator.
Well, you have 476 was a 7% increase.
Calculator. 75.
gonna be like 6.98.
Is the current rate 445?
Yes.
Yeah, so then slightly,
5%.
so 470 would be between 5 and 7%.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. So last thing, do we need to talk about what everyone's thinking about as far as the fixed rate? It's currently 150. I think last time we voted on this, actually Joe wanted to make it higher. Except I think the motion came in, at 150 and whatever it is, 445. What are you guys thinking on that? Do we increase it now?
So these are for the 3,000 or so
Yeah,
low.
we have
low
we
use.
have 3,136 people that pay minimum.
Yeah, this is the minimum use bill. It
And
was 125, now it's 150, so.
it's 150. We voted that last year, I believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
And you
I
wanted to
mean,
make it higher.
In fairness, I guess, maybe we could go 160, $10 more, because we're raising everybody else, just to be consistent with raising the fixed people also. I mean, that's not a money issue. That would get us $31,000 more.
Yeah. Nothing to talk about.
The other thought on that is, we have well users. I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, but the well users pay $250. So if you're going to increase the minimum use, you might want to take into account the well users as well. So,
Approximately how many?
I want to say there's 20 well users.
Really?
So it's peanuts. I mean, there's not very many.
But I mean, for consistency, should we do 5% across the board?
Right.
So that brings that 150 up to 157. You round it to 160. Take the
160.
250, increase that by the 5%,
Be 270,
265 probably.
265.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say 265 or 165?
265 on the wells.
For the well users.
Okay.
The well users,
Oh,
they're
got it.
250 right
Okay.
now.
$10 divided by 150. 6. Okay. All right. So we're talking 160, 160, and 265. Okay. I'm good with that.
So am I.
Mm,
I guess the only other question I have is more related to the project stuff. Bill, you had mentioned how there's some potential pump station upgrades on the horizon. I mean, rough planning level numbers, how many years out are those?
I think we were probably supposed to do 1 or 2 already. They've been spaced out till I think 2026.
Okay.
So I'd have to get you I don't know off the top of my head, but they're in the pump station report that Wright Pierce prepared.
Okay.
I can get you that.
They're on the waterfall plan too, I think.
Yeah, they're in the waterfall. We had them in last year's waterfall for the town, the 2 that we were talking about. But
Okay.
Bill, what were the numbers on that? Those weren't, I don't want to say weren't very expensive, but.
I think the highest one might have been Fairfield Beach Road at 1.6 million.
Yeah, okay, that's right.
And that included the pump station and the force main.
Right. The others were in about 750 range, I thought.
Some of them, I think Mill River, because of the size, was maybe a little higher than that.
Okay.
We got to take into account though that facilities plan was done in 2014. So I don't know how good those figures are.
Right.
So
My question was more just related. I wanted to make sure we weren't leaving big ticket items off of this
Right.
5-year projection.
There might be an issue there might be a place where we could spend it out of our reserve or out
Right,
of our
that's a
11
good
million.
That's
Pick up 1 or
something-
2 of those out of the 11 million.
Yeah, that could be, pick 1 or 2 that you
Mhm.
can reach easily.
Yep.
Okay.
Eastfield Pump Station's very small.
Yeah.
Willow Street's even smaller. So
Is there a motion?
Sorry, I don't have the agenda in front of me. Chris, what were we looking for on the agenda? Was this a discussion item or do you need a motion?
Discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
My bad.
discussion, right?
yeah.
We need a motion to set the public hearing date, so that's the most important.
Okay, so this is going to be, if that Linda needs more time, but right now I'd like to make a motion to set the public hearing date for the rate increase discussion for September 15th, our next regularly scheduled meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is Quinn.
Okay.
So
Good
Joe,
discussion.
can you do one last thing? Joe,
Yes,
can you
sir.
do one last thing? Can you try to go out the next 5 years?
Next 5 years being 2027 through
28, 20, yeah.
31? I
Yeah.
can, but I'm going to need some numbers on, I could extend these, obviously, these projects are known, they're on the waterfall with numbers. Anything Quinn, anything you want me to do going forward would be just these same numbers, right?
With the 3% increase
With the
on.
3% increase for the department, but that's all I can do. We don't have any other projects that are quantified with numbers. I mean, I can add some pump stations in if you want for a couple of million. Otherwise, I'll
I'm just
just
trying to see
extend
how we,
the numbers we
how the
have.
rate smooth. I'm trying to figure out how the rate will smooth, and then what will be,
Mhm.
the highest rate that we're gonna ever charge our
It's-
clients.
I
It's
understand.
gonna double. The number's gonna double. It'll be up in
You're
the
asking,
$8 to $9.
Yeah,
no,
that's what I thought.
why would they double, Mark? Because unless we have more very large projects, that 1233 would just
Just gonna
continue.
stay at 12.
These are fixed payments on the bonds out for 20 years. So the only way that number is going to get bigger is if I put more projects in that we don't know about yet. So I'd have to make some assumptions. We're going to spend 5 million a year in 26, 5 million in X 27, and then build it out that way.
And Joe,
That I
those
can-
are 20-year fully amortizing assumptions?
Yeah, what you're seeing is the first year of the first years of the amortization, but it's a
Yeah.
that amortization. So that 1230 would be constant with these. That's my assumption. But for me to build the number higher is I'd have to make assumptions on, 5 million bonding each year, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, just make assumptions, which I can do. But I don't have any hard numbers. These at least we had estimates for the projects I've used. So yes,
Right,
I
and you
can
said
do
the
it.
estimates are from 2014 mainly, right? And the estimates are from 2014.
Yeah, these are the estimates. Yeah, I mean, we gave the estimates to the town in 2020 on the waterfall, but
Of
yes,
2020.
the original estimates, some of them go back to 2014.
Yeah.
the only other thing I
So
see,
you'd have
Joe,
to,
is,
no, I was just gonna say, if you again know that X project was over by, 1.5, 100, 50% over, can you do some kind of
Yeah, I
addition
can
to
inflate
the
these
overall
projects
number?
right. Now, the other thing I haven't done, and we might get some benefit here, is I haven't figured out if we're getting any grants to bring down some of these prices. I
Right.
figured with the overruns and against the grants, I might be okay.
Yeah, I mean, the story that this is telling me is that as close as we can to the 26, 27 year, we're gonna have to get up to funding a total of around 12 million.
That's correct.
Because every year we're less than that, we're gonna be eating into our reserves.
Right, and that was the intent, to get out there
Right.
far enough to try to get the projects we've at least got on the books, or at least
Yeah,
in our.
exactly.
Right, but then we just but we also just brought up that we should use the reserve to do the, the pump stations.
Mhm.
So we should also work on an agreement on that too.
Yeah, I can make some assumptions on the pump stations, 2 or 3 of them a year.
Okay. Do your best. I mean, that's all I can say. Do your
I can do
best.
something, but it's going to have a lot of assumptions in it. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
And then each year we can update it and get better in the near term.
Okay. Okay, shall we continue?
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Did we finish that motion on that? Unless I missed it, I don't know.
On the September 15th?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We
think that
confirm that? Okay. All right.
approved.
Just wanted to make sure. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Mhm.
Old business. To hear, consider, and act on a sewer use adjustment for 374 Westford Drive. This came to us last month. It was pointed out that the time period in question seemed to be during where there may have been a leak was during the summer months where we do not calculate the usage for the sewer rate. Chris, is there an update on this?
Yes, I believe Mr. Burkhardt is on the line. He can probably.
Yes, I'm here.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Do you need me to fill in some details?
Yeah, if you want to go into some detail and give them some background history on this. So there's some questions on
Okay.
whether it was during our billing period.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you. All you guys seem to have nice houses. Just looking in the background. I bought my house in 2007, the day the market peaked, and my water bill forever was $25 a month. A couple of years ago, and I have it on auto pay. I don't look at the bills; it just goes in and out. A couple of years ago, my property tax was, or my sewer tax was around $1,200 or something. And I said, "Gee." So I thought, I guess it went up. So I paid it. And when I was talking to my water bill, I looked, was like $110 a month for a couple of years. And then I talked to my next door neighbor, and he said, it's a little cake with 2 toilets and a shower. He said his water bill's like $20. So I said, well, I guess there's something wrong. And one of the toilets apparently was leaking without making any noise. So for a couple $100, a plumber came in and fixed it. And this was last summer, and my water bill went down to $20, $22, $25. But I still had the $1,400 assessment, which I was told, and I was going through this whole thing with the water company, and they had to adjust my bill before the tax people could adjust my bill. And the water company did their adjustment. I provided all that material to the town, and they came back with the person I talked to, and this was around May or so, but I hadn't paid the bill, so I had to pay it by June 30th. She said, well, the refund is going to be more than $1,000, so it has to go to the committee.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently that was why we're here, or why it came up last month, or
Mr. Burkhardt, let me ask you one question. What is your water bill been for the last few months?
Oh, it's $22, $23 a month instead of $130, which it had been for 2 years.
Yeah. So there's some documentation that shows that for October of last year. I just wanted to confirm that it was still trending in that direction.
Oh yeah, I have a washing machine, 2 toilets, a shower and a sink, and a dishwasher. It's not all that much, and I'm single by myself, so it's not like there's a big family there or anything else. So it's literally $22, $23 a month, and it's been that way. And I can't believe how I wasn't paying attention to the thing the whole time. Because I was paying basically $100 extra a month for water, and then as it turns out, $1,000-something more for sewer, for a couple of years.
Gotcha. Okay, so what is I'm just trying to pull it up. What is the proposed adjustment in front of us? Chris, do you have that?
I'm looking at it right now. So the proposed adjustment would bring it down to, let's see, this was done a while ago, so I'm not too, it would be, $120.16. So it would be minimum use bill. So his bill would be 150. So it would bring it below the threshold, but the minimum use payment is 150. So.
Yeah. But what, here we go.
And the reason it's in front of you guys is because I paid a $1,400 assessment to
Yeah,
avoid
that's
a
what I
tax
was thinking.
lien by June 30th. So apparently the refund is more than $1,000.
Yeah,
So you have to say it's okay.
gotcha. Yeah, no, makes sense to me.
He does have a letter from Aquarian for the adjustment, which is attached with the information as well. So for what Aquarian had refunded.
Any comments or questions from the commission?
He's also got the letter from tech experts that says they've done.
Huh? Skip me.
Anyone?
Chris, this will be a one-time hit, right? Just like Aquarium.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He gets a one-time adjustment from Aquarian, so it would be a one-time thing with us as well.
Should he also check with Aquarium? This happened to me, so I could should Aquarium come out, kind of open up the pit and make sure that there's nothing going on down there, just as a safeguard.
Right.
Robert, do you know what I'm saying?
You want me to open what?
No, what? You got a letter from the tech server to whatever it is, tech something here that says they fixed it with toilets.
Oh, right. Yeah, the plumber. Sure. Yeah.
But one of the things, since you're responsible from the house to the street, and Aquarium's responsible from the street going forward there. So if there's a leak between the water line and the meter, then Aquarium's got to fix it and pay for it. If it's the meter itself, Aquarium's got to pay it. If it's between the meter and your house, you got to pay it. Like I had to replace a whole copper line, dig up the whole front yard. Chris knows that because he went out there with the spray paint.
I think I have insurance for that through Aquarian.
Well, you've been Aquarium
From the street to the meter or something.
All right, it's up to you. I'm just saying, just confirm that there's no leaks from the street to your house.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
and
just for the record, so, and I think it was explained to you already, but you get a one-time adjustment from Aquarian. So this would be your one-time adjustment in the same, it would work the same thing with the town. So you would get a one-time adjustment now. If in the future you had a leak, you know, they wouldn't honor it, so.
that's
Yeah,
why
I get it. Sure.
that's why I was saying test the line,
Yeah.
you know, make sure there's no leaks because
And that's something that, I'm sorry, is that something Aquarian does or a plumber?
yeah, they'll just say that we want to make sure there's no leak. We're getting an adjustment, and they'll send out a truck. The guy will just open up the pit, and he'll take his wrench to make sure there's no water in the pit, and it says, okay, well the meter's
Okay.
not. So if the meter's not going, you don't have a leak. But if 2
Right.
months from now, or you know, wintertime comes, and all of a sudden you see your water bill going up, and it is a leak, at least you can say ahead of time that they've checked it.
Yep, I get it.
Okay, so the motion is to retroactively adjust this bill to the minimum use. Is that correct? For tax year, wait in front of me, is it tax year 2020?
Yes.
And the adjustment's $120.16, or did I get that wrong?
No, the bill is $150 and the adjustment is $1,250.
Yeah.
$1,200 from us. Okay.
Chris, what's the exact amount of the bill? The tax, the 2020 tax was 14 something.
1302.96.
Thank you. Okay. So the refund or the adjustment he's looking for is 1302.96 down to 150 fixed costs, which would be an adjustment of 1152.96.
Your math is right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so
So,
that's
Did you want a motion, Mr.
yeah,
Chairman?
please.
I'd like to make a motion to make a one-time adjustment to Mr. Burkharth's 2020 tax bill, which was invoiced at $1,302.96, and refund to the minimum amount of 150, an adjustment of $1,152.96.
I'll second.
Christian, second. Comments, questions?
Would it be the sewer use bill, not the tax bill?
Sewer use bill.
Thank you.
Correct. Thank you, Bill.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Quinn, aye.
Quinn's aye, unanimous. Great.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Moving right along, we have an update from Tim Warren regarding the Carriage Drive Sewer Extension Project. Wasn't clear if there was a action required here, but it's always nice to hear from Mr. Warren, who's been patiently waiting, I believe.
Yeah, I'll start off on this. I have a little information. So I received the environmental results today to review. Obviously I wasn't at the last meeting. There was a little bit of a red flag for one of the borings that were done on the boring number 4. The daily limit, or the residential limit, is 10. The boring limit came back at 24.5. It was the only red flag that was brought up for the testing results. I talked to our engineering department. They're going to review it. They're also going to talk to our conservation director, he's new, so he's trying to get settled in as well, and one of our consultants. So we want to kind of see what their thought is as far as the borings on that one boring. I know the environmental company did some further analysis on that, and they will let us know whether that, they did some other testing on it, but they're going to, they said that the lab results produced no leachable arsenic was detected. That's over my scale. I don't understand that whole thing, but we want to kind of do our due diligence and make sure that this is in order before we approve it. So that's the first thing going forward. Go ahead. You had a question?
Yeah, that was the chemical that the compound that was red flagged was arsenic.
Was arsenic, correct? Yep. So arsenic is naturally occurring in the soils, and that's what they're saying, that this is historical. It wasn't dumped there or something like that. So, but we just want to make sure moving forward that that's not going to pose a problem. We don't need to remediate that soil out of that boring or that location prior to, moving forward on this. All the other borings look like they came back good. It was only that one boring, number 4, that was a little bit high on the arsenic. So, so those are my comments on that. I have a little more information as well. We talked, Bill and I and John sat down with the purchasing director on Monday. We will have to, as the town, put this out to bid rather than the neighborhood association itself, because there's town funds involved. We have to write an RFP for it. That RFP gets published on the website, and then we have to get bids and go through the whole bidding process and so forth. So it's not just an easy solution as the neighbors go and bid it. There's town bonding and funding involved. So we have to internally, the town would write an RFP and put it out to bid. So, so the whole process, which we thought was going to be easy, is going to take a little bit more time. So, but because we're involved with 50% of the funding, that's the protocol that we have to go through.
Was there a discussion in that meeting, or has there been a discussion about getting the repaving in the queue and how that gets done?
No, we can have that discussion with our Public Works. But it was not discussed, or I don't think it has been discussed yet. So the thought was that because it's a town road, the town would pave the road. But, moving forward, right now they're starting to work on next year's paving budget. So that should be accounted for, or we would have to discuss that with them to account for it.
Yeah, I think we would have to figure out how to get that into the queue, or we're going to have a partial road and some residents who aren't happy, and the Public Works pointing the finger at us saying that we never told
Right.
them that we needed to do this. So
Yeah.
What's being included in the design, in the contract that'll be going out to bid? I mean, some sort of backfill is required.
Yeah, I think it's backfill and temporary pavement.
Okay.
Chris DeAngelis might be able to elaborate. I didn't look at the specifications, but Chris, do you know?
Yeah, yes, for the record, Chris DeAngelis, I'm the civil engineer, put together the project plans. On our plans, we call for, I believe, a 1-inch milling curb to curb for the entire street width. We show the saw cut limits on the plans, and then a 1.5-inch overlay back on top. So I could easily modify that and just pull that out if you're going to do the paving internally for the town.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the rationale behind that is if the town puts it into their overall paving contract with their contractor, it's going to be less expensive.
It'll be less expensive pulling the paving out, but if the town bids it and as an RFP as a public project, the cost will surely go up because you'll use union scale contractors.
Right. We wouldn't incorporate the paving as a bid item for that. For that, we would take that out.
We would make sure the compaction and process and maybe do the trench.
Yeah, the RFP wouldn't include the paving.
okay. So
But it'll include temporary paving, but not the final.
Right.
Not
Okay.
curb to curb.
Right.
good. Mr. Tim Warren, is there an update, sir?
Hello. Good to see you all again. The big news was that Chris finished the design, and I'm glad you joined us, Chris. You want to speak to any nuances in the design that are noteworthy. But as far as the neighborhood goes, I think everybody's on board. I wasn't sure if we would have to come back to this meeting, but the timing of the design being finished and a couple of these outstanding questions it just seemed like, we should all check in again. And that's big news for us as far as the town putting the bid out. And I'm willing to help, but it sounds like it's got to be an internal thing. So I don't have any noteworthy news per se, other than everybody's commitment is still intact and we're excited and ready to go. And I'm curious if Chris has anything to add, because it would be more interesting than me. But I'm glad we're moving forward. That's all.
Is there any sort of legal documentation that memorializes this agreement
You mean in the neighborhood?
with the neighborhood, with the town?
Well, I have signatures from all the folks on the street, but we could certainly make it more official if we needed to. I could talk to a lawyer or talk to the town lawyer, and I don't, we have signatures from everybody who's going to participate that they will participate.
That was another thing that came out of our meeting with Gerald Foley, the purchasing director, said that it would have to go through town legal department.
Okay.
Yeah, for review of the RFP before it goes out, it would have to be reviewed by the town attorney. So, but I think, Mark, and I think to your comment, I think we should pass at least something by the town attorney, and maybe along with the signatures and any document that they have requesting this, formally requesting this, you know, and let him review it.
Yeah, these are insignificant dollars that are going to be expended. I would think the residents want some assurances in terms of what the economics and the performance is going to be going forward. And the town wants some certainty that, you know, what was the final number? 5 or 6? Was it 5? 5 homes?
Five homes.
Yeah.
That 5 homes are going to agree to pay the what was agreed upon, and if someone sells their house, then you know the remaining balance is due and payable. It's
Right.
it's a, I don't want to say it's complicated, but there's a number of moving parts involved.
Yeah. Would it be better if we cooked that up on our end and had our sort of council send it to the town? Or is that something they're going to want to drop that we would review?
I'm going to defer to the department. Is there a feel?
I think if the homeowners can draft something so that the attorney knows exactly what you're looking for,
Right.
you know, and then he can incorporate that into a town document with all
Okay.
the correct figures and things of that nature. I think that's a good starting point rather than him trying to start from ground zero.
That's fine. It seems like it would expedite things too if we just brought something they could mark up or edit to the table.
Yeah, or a term sheet format.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mr.
All right. I can work on that. I think that would probably solidify the neighborhood too in a good way. Good fences, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously the biggest curiosity on our end is the timeline. I've got a big renovation going on the property right now. I'm not living there, and I'm trying to figure out if I have to resurrect the septic system just to get in there, living in there, or if we might be able to not do that. But it sounds like if they're talking about this for next year, just so I can update the neighborhood, it feels like with the RFP process, if the town is running it, we might be into spring. I mean, I'm kind of hoping that's not true, but I'll take your perspective on that.
I can give you a little timeline. So to write the RFP would take probably, you know, let's say a month. By the time it goes through the commissions and boards, it's about a 2-month process. So you're already 3 months into it. You're probably looking at December by then. You're looking probably towards, you know, before they break ground, beginning of January. You know, whether you're going to get a contractor to start working in the middle of winter, you know, that's negotiable, but you know, you might actually be potentially looking towards a spring start. You know, unfortunately, it's just the way
Okay.
the timing is now. But
Joe,
It's better to know. Yeah, it's fine.
Mark, I just wanted to mention to Bill and to Chris that you should also, if you're going to Jim Baldwin with any kind of an agreement, he should also be aware of our policy. That has to get incorporated. There's like 3 different components to this. You've got the homeowners, and you've got the town, and you've got the commission. So he's got to be aware of that also.
right. Yeah, I would pass along the approved, you know, connection letter as well. So
Diavanzo policy as it's
Yes. Just put my name on it, right?
So the town engineers are reviewing the geotech report to confirm the arsenic's not a problem. And then
Right.
assuming that that's not a problem, then proceed with RFP.
proceed with RFP, correct? Yeah.
Okay.
So
With respect to the RFP, I have one design question, just because I spoke to a contractor at the beginning of this, and his big thing was the more shallow you can put that pipe, the cheaper it's going to be to put in. So I'm curious what the minimum comfortable depth is based on what Chris found, and because there's a 12-foot manhole at the end of the street, but if you have to go down to 12 feet, it's just not great. You know,
Right.
you're digging a whole lot deeper than you need to.
to answer that question, it would pose on the factors that all the houses can flow by gravity into the main. So
Right.
obviously you don't want to have one house that's a pump and 4 houses that are on, gravity. So, Chris would have to determine based on that, what the elevations would be. I don't know off the top of my head, but the end of the main could come up a little bit depending on, if the last house could flow by gravity. So that's an engineering question that would have to be determined. So, yeah.
Okay.
We did shallow it up at the end of the street, at the end of the cul-de-sac, quite a bit from the preliminary design that we have. But we still are about the same depth for most of the street. The limiting factor wasn't so much the basement elevations. It was, we have a storm drain in the street and there's a lot of laterals and we're crossing underneath each of the laterals. So we're crossing underneath the storm laterals, so that, because we're on the other side of the storm line. So each sewer lateral from the house will have to go underneath the storm line. That seemed to be the bigger, that was controlling the depth of the sewer.
Okay. Do you think that'll have a big cost to the neighbors as far as their connection cost, or is that just not a big deal?
I'm not quite sure what you mean. The depth at each property line is about 6 to 7 feet, which is about what you need to flow each house by gravity.
Got it.
And that's
Okay.
not too deep. That's normal, 6 to 7 feet.
Yeah, that's where they were hoping to get. Okay,
Right.
well, I won't bore all of you with nuances of our project, but it's yeah.
One more thing I want to touch on, Tim, and I know you had a question on it. There's a third-party inspection that needs to take place. So
Yeah.
we as the town, we're at full, capacity right now. We can't be out there the whole time and oversee this project. So the town hires a consultant, a third-party consultant. They monitor and oversee the work that's being done there, making sure the compaction, all the pipe is being installed properly. I wouldn't say they need to be out there the whole time, all day long, but we just recently did a sewer extension on Sasko Hill and they were there for half the day. So, overseeing, it takes time to dig down to the pipe. They don't need to see the whole excavation in the morning part. Basically, they want to see the connection of the pipes and the backfill and so forth, make sure that things are being done accordingly. So that is done along with the bond that has to be posted. We incorporate this cost for the third-party engineer to oversee the project or inspector. So that's a cost that would be built into the bond that needs to be set forth. So
Okay.
I'm assuming Chris would be involved also for any shop drawing reviews and RFIs and that kind of stuff during construction, correct?
right, Chris DeAngelis.
Chris DeAngelis.
Yeah.
The engineer of record.
Correct.
Right. I guess I would continue to, bill Tim and the other homeowners for my services, but yeah, I'd be happy to be involved for that sort of stuff. And I did have some money in my proposal to Tim for doing, like twice a week inspections. They would just be like half an hour to 45 minutes at the site. And what we were really planning on doing was just as the lateral was stopped at each property line, putting together a tie card. But if you're going to have an inspector, I assume that's probably going to be part of his services. So I probably don't need to be out there all that frequently, but I'm happy to review the shop drawings.
Okay.
Okay. I think we're set.
Good.
I'm grateful, fellas. I am starting to get used to popping into the party here. So thanks for all the hard work. I think the neighbors thought I was crazy a year and a half ago, and I think now they don't mind the renovation noise all day quite as much. So thanks.
Sorry we can't get it in the fall for you.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I mean, nothing happens at lightning speed. I'd rather know. I'd rather give him a cautious outlook than an overly ambitious one. So it's fine.
Okay, thanks. Tom. Have a good night.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
you guys. You too.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, let's move
Yes.
on to what I think will increasingly become a more sizable component of the monthly agenda, which is the update on the current projects. I might even suggest moving this up on the agenda, given the order of magnitude of these projects, the amount of money, and the complexity of some of these projects. Often it's 8:15. We start to run a little low on energy when we get to what I would argue is the most important part of the agenda. So, Bill and Chris, could you and I've asked to kind of reorder the projects from those that are kind of large and underway to those that are nearing completion or kind of out on the horizon. So, who wants to kick us off?
Bill, you want to take the reins or?
Sure, I'll start with the hardening.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's been down there, but the roads are just about complete. They're scheduled to be have the binder coat put down on Saturday. So that means that it'll be paved, the first course, and that will stay in place probably until next spring for any settlement, if we have to go in and do any other corrections. So it won't be the greatest pavement, but it'll be better than the Dust Bowl that's there now. So that's scheduled to the elevations are scheduled to be completed tomorrow. Grading is supposed to start on the Denali side tomorrow, and then the plant side Friday, because they're going to complete the road there tomorrow.
Bill, this is Joe. Any other change orders that have come through recently? Or they're done?
No, there's been some stuff that Laura's been working on. There's a couple things after I get through these 3 points that I'm going to bring up.
Okay, sorry.
We as plant personnel want in place. So the drainage, as it says, is being put in. Like I said, everything on the roads is just about done. There's one more catch basin at our gate across from Denali that they're going to put in, because we've found that through their elevations and stuff, we have some settling of water. So we're going to take care of that. All sheeting's been installed. There's 2 things that we looked at. I don't know if you recall, at our gate across from Denali, there used to be a hydrant that our flusher truck and the town sweepers used to fill at. Well, now that elevation is much higher. There's a wall there. There's going to be a lot of traffic. So we would like to have Butternut and Check run a 2-inch line into our property with a yard hydrant, so that we can fill our trucks inside our yard rather than exposing them to all the traffic and what I consider a safety hazard. So we've got a quote for just over $14,000, $14,625. It's roughly 80 feet of pipe. Then they're going to have to backfill and do all of that, put the hydrant in, it's brand new hydrant, tap the existing line, because Aquarium won't let us come off the line that's already in the treatment plant. They want that line to come off the main, and that includes also a meter pit and a backflow preventer. So what I'm looking at doing with that is it's a change order, but what I want to do is pay it out of our budget, out of our operating. And we've done that in the past on several items that Brian did before he left.
Did they do any
have the money
soil
to do that.
testing there where they have to dig for this line?
What's that?
Did they do any soil boring where they have to dig this line in?
It's all new soil.
It's all new soil where you're gonna do this?
Yes, it's all new soil.
Excellent.
Everything's been tested on the site anyway, but it's all where they're going to be is all new soil. As I said, that's Butternut and Check for just under $15,000 that I'm going to get done. And the second one is we're going to run some conduit to both gates accesses. because at some point we're going to want electric gates to open and close rather than have the man gates, much in the same way DPW has, Fire Academy has. It just makes for a more secure site to make sure that everything's locked and just when you leave, it closes right behind you, you know. And it's probably, you know, maybe a capital thing next year, or we may wait for the upgrade. But I'd like to put the conduits in place now because everything's torn up already. So I had gotten an original quote from the contractor Northeast for just under $18,000. Which was, let's see, I want to get the right amount here. It was 17,880. And we had our job meeting last week and I asked him if that was gold conduit because there's no way it was going to be that much money. I don't care who's putting it in and how deep it was going to be. The amount of feet and 2-inch conduit, there's no way. So that was like Thursday morning. We had our meeting at 10 o'clock. Probably at 12:30, I had another quote for $9,908. $9,958. I just, you know, I don't get very excited often, but I was very excited at that meeting. So I think that's a fair price. And this way we can get that work done. But like I said, a bit more informational than anything. I really don't need anything to go ahead because it's going to be under the contract. It's a bidded contract, a bidded price. It's just that I am going to be using monies out of the operating budget. So I just wanted to make sure everybody was informed. I ran into purchasing. Gerald talked to Caitlin and they asked me, have we done this before? I said, yes, we've done it before where Brian has used some funds for both the Harding project and the Eastern Turnpike project. Not, you know, not exorbitant amount of monies, but something in this range.
And Bill, why would you want to go forward and put the gates in at the same time? Why would you wait on the gates? The fencing?
Because we think we can get a better price from another contractor.
Okay.
Right now, I can't really bring in another contractor on their site to do work. You know, they're the licensed contractor. They're not going through anything that's dirty anyway. But if they did hit, their license to take care of it. And this all includes that. So they're not really going through anything else. Like I said, it's all clean parts.
They're a change order. Now you've got to go out and rebid it.
What's that?
Stop it.
The difference there is a change order. They are a change order to do it with them.
Yeah, if I don't, then we got to
Go back and rebid it to do it with somebody else.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
All right. So that's the hardening project. Any other questions? I don't know if you've been down there, if anybody's been down there. The slopes are incredible. If you come up, you know, used to pass by the tanks and you'd see the cement wall. Now, when you pass by the tanks, you can actually look in the tank.
It's
you look down into the aeration. You look right down into the aeration tank. We can, as we're coming to work, we know exactly how the tanks are working.
Bill, the buses haven't had any problems with
We haven't had a lot of impacts with traffic. It's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I've observed, you know, there's been some times when, you know, you're down to single traffic and there'll be one guy that doesn't stop. Yeah. So, you know, the guy's chasing them or the traffic or the cops are chasing them to stop them. So, but there's a lot of heavy equipment moving a lot of earth around down there.
Yeah.
They're putting a lot of, they have to put matting between the old soil and the new so that they know that the dividing line between the new and the old. So that's all being taken care of. They're watering 3 or 4 times a day to keep the dust at a minimum. So they're still continuing with that.
Okay. What's next? Eastern
Pump Station. All of the critical stuff has been done to date. Right now, the electricals starting. The electricians are up there. They're putting the MCCs in place. They're putting the VFD panels in place. Probably starting next week, they'll be pulling wire. We're having a meeting tomorrow morning. Dennis is going to be down on site. We're going to try to get a little better schedule. If we can get a few electricians in there next week, it's probably a week or two away from, all the wire being pulled and then, start up and debugging of everything. The sooner the better. We'd hope that we'd be up and running by now. August 1st, most of the athletes reported up to those dorms they're up there at Sacred Heart now. I think the last week in August, the rest of the students are coming in.
Yep.
I've been monitoring. We have what we call a mission control system at each pump station, and that tells me every day what the pumps are doing, how long they're running. Seems like we were having an issue. Chris knows this. We were getting a lot of water from the site for some reason, and it was clean water. We tried to ask Sacred Heart if they could look and see where it was coming from. They didn't have any idea, but it seems like the pump rates have come back down. So I don't know if they found something and shut it off, or someone was dewatering something and just weren't telling us. We don't get a lot of cooperation, it seems, from Sacred Heart sometimes. So, but everything's proceeding well. So, like I said, if we can get the electricians to get 2 or 3 guys there and just pulling wires, and everything will be finished up, because all the painting, everything internally is done. Doors are on, panels are just about up and complete. Generators in. It's just, when you get all the big stuff in, it's the little stuff that starts taking problems now, because you got to run all the wire, you got to terminate all the wires, you got to make sure all the connections are right, you got to ring out everything to make sure they're in the right places so you don't short circuit anything and things of that nature.
Gotcha.
Do we know if the pumps have been installed yet?
I don't think the pumps have been put into the wet well. I think they're still up at Covex's warehouse.
Yeah. Okay.
So those will probably be the last things that are put in, because it's a submersible station.
Yeah.
So once they're in, if anything happens, like we had that line break from Sacred Heart, it filled that pump station, they would be sitting in sewage. So rather than that, we'll wait. They're supposed to be rotating them every week or every month to make sure that the bearings and everything stay well. And it's much easier to do it in that condition rather than trying to go down into a wet well
Right.
and do it. Force main is done.
Yeah.
Do you want to take D, Chris?
Yeah. So D, Time Bond is scheduling the work. They're actually scheduling it. We just got notification of it for the week of September 6th. There was a little bit of a problem with the contract that came out. The town attorney reviewed it in purchasing. There was some verbiage in there that needed to be clarified. So they've remodified it and signed it, approved the work. Time Bond is officially been awarded the contract. There's been, they're anticipating starting the borings the week of September 6th. So that's the latest and greatest that we have on that. There's also a question whether they want to hire a underground locating company to locate some utilities, which would be a little bit of an extra on it. We're waiting to hear back from them of what the added cost would be on that. So, it's for the safety of everybody. Obviously, we want to know what utilities are there, so they don't hit anything. They have some questions, so we told them to go back and get some prices and then come back to the town with that. So
yeah, it's a great idea.
That's where we stand. Let's see, the East Trunk wetlands, that has been is being reviewed by D&B engineers. They're working on it. They came back to us with what we did was we gave them all the boring information from the Metro Center project. They has reviewed it. They determined that they need to do 2 additional borings. Some of the borings were insignificant. They didn't have enough data to determine what they needed to. So they need to do 2 additional borings. They're in the process of getting some prices to do it. And from there, we'll know a better, an additional cost. There will be a change order to this contract, but, we need to obviously know what kind of geotech they're dealing with before, we move forward on the project. So, for design. So that's where we stand with that. Let's see, the siphon, we don't really have any update. Laura Pooley's been dealing with that. She's kind of been busy with the hardening project. So I don't know the exact status of the siphon replacement, as much as it's been in review. And then there was the additional cost that came forward to the commission for the siphon.
Yeah, my to-do from last month, I don't know if I volunteered or was nominated. I did reach out to Jerry Alisi or Alisi.
Yep.
I have not heard back from him.
He's on the Conservation Commission now, so he might have an update on that. Okay. Let's see, the WPCA outfall project, that's being reevaluated. We're gonna try to find out if that project needs to go forward or not. We did determine that there was a liner in the pipe. Whether that liner is significant, holds significant infrastructure on that pipe or not, it's to be determined. We want to make sure that that pipe is not compromised, and there's no hole in the liner. So I think the next step is going to be, we're going to camera it. Bill, you might want to elaborate. We can probably, I think we got the approval to discharge into Ash Creek. But that's,
Yes, yeah, we requested from DEP if we could. I never thought we would get it. They said we can. Now it's whether it's feasible or not for us to get into our wet well structure in our RAS building to take a plate off so that we can go to it. The plate's been there forever, and it's not going to be an easy thing. So we'll have to take a look at that to see if it's even feasible. We didn't want to go ahead and look at that without knowing if we could go ahead, if the DEP was going to give us an approval or not.
right.
Just spin our wheels.
Gotcha.
The microgrid project, Holzner had that change order, I believe it was for $77,000 for soil removal. They've done probably 90% of that. They've started backfilling today at some of those dirty sites that they had to remove the contaminated soils from. They were removing a little more contaminated soil today. So hopefully by the end of this week, beginning of next week, all of that contaminated soil is out. All the new soil is put in. Then Yankee Electric can come in and start doing their conduit runs, their duct banks, and their pads for the switch gear. I really don't have any other update on wastewater treatment plant as of right now. I don't know if you have anything, Chris.
No, same as what's there. It's
Okay. The phase 3 of the INI is roughly probably about 60% complete. National Water Main's been in town, hit or miss, really. Dennis is working on that, trying to get that one completed. And then he's working on getting phase 4 out and design, out of design and onto the street for bid to see where we are with that.
Gotcha. Let me ask, INI is a big part of our focus going forward. Impacts what we're going to do with the plant. We collect a lot of money on it. Could we get some sort of update next month on the INI plan that's underway?
Sure, I can have Dennis come.
Yeah, that'd be terrific.
Yeah, so that's where we are now as far as, like I said, these smaller 1 to 2 inch to 2.5 to even the 3 inch rainfalls that had given us problems historically before we started these phases don't seem to be. I think a lot of the percentage, can I put a number on it? 60% maybe comes from that east trunk line.
Yeah.
And where it is. We did send out some pictures last month of what we've done in those areas to raise the manholes out so it's not just inundating the manholes, and that could be why we got 5 inches of rain this time, and that's when we saw the overflows rather than the 3 inch or 2 inch storms, because a lot of that, those manholes weren't underwater, just with water pouring in them.
Yeah. Okay.
Wastewater treatment plant generator. Right now, the generator is in place. All the gas has been hooked up. I thought it was today and tomorrow, but maybe it'll be tomorrow and Friday. They're supposed to start the generator up and do a load test on it to see where it is. There is also some discrepancies about the size of the wire or whether it can handle the amount of power going through it, coming into the building, and trying to make, these are pretty large conduits, or whether the conduits can make the bend coming up out of the ground into the MCCs. I spoke with Laura about this at length. I believe it's one or two things. And this is my opinion, and it's either an error and omissions on the engineer's point that either he missed it or the contractor missed it. So I don't think there should be any cost to the town. Now and then we had that discussion, and she said, "Well, I don't know. I says, if you want me to call the engineer, I'll call him." So I called Mike Chambers from the engineering firm, Petrocelli and Silver, right? Chris, that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
And I said, "Did you miss this, or was it part of the bid package?" He said, "No, it's part of the bid package." I said, "Well, then the contractor missed it, and this should be on his. This shouldn't be on the town." So there's been a lot of debate going back and forth, and I can, this is one of the other times I got upset. So, we're working on it again. Everybody's aware of my opinion, both the contractor and the engineer, and we're trying to come up with some sort of solution on this. There were several solutions given, whether we can just change out the breaker or whether we can get a larger breaker or so. So they've been going back and forth with the electrical inspector, and he doesn't seem to want to give any kind of variance or on the code or code modification. So we're still working on that. Hopefully we'll have an answer for you for next month.
Okay. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. Thorpe Street Sewer Rehab Project, I think we're waiting for the Cento Group to put in all their infrastructure and then do the tie-in and then see where we are after they do that. If there's any impact on the elevations of the water going through the pipe that goes from Cento site over to Ruane to the manhole in the backyard, to see if that elevation lessens or changes at all.
Bill, I have a question. By the time I hit unmute, you were already on to the next topic.
Okay.
The generator.
Yes.
Question on that is, when I was running IT for Coca-Cola, we had a generator that cranked up once a month. Like they pick a Friday or something like that, and they just fire it up to make sure all the connections were still working, and so like disaster control type of thing.
Yep.
Are we going to schedule anything like that?
Yeah, all of our generators do that right now. They exercise for an hour a week, different days. Right now, the generator that's sitting right next to that one exercises Tuesday morning from 10 to 11.
Super.
Today, the 1.3 meg on in the RAS building did it today.
Go to the next topic now.
I like that. I like that term. That's great.
Yeah. So, and I think M&M bullet points, we have no update on, unless Chris, you have something.
No, both of those no updates.
Chris, quick question for you. 15 Umpqua, any word from them recently?
Nothing. No, they withdrew their application through zoning, and they're redoing. They're trying to change the zoning regs to incorporate a height requirement on their project. So once that's approved, then they'll probably move forward again. But I don't anticipate. We're moving into the winter season, so by the time it's approved, I don't anticipate it being until next spring we hear back.
Okay,
from them.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay, and then we have sewer bypasses. We had one, right?
Yes, we did. 350 Gray Street. Chris called me last Friday. We got a hold of our crew and got them out there. They had run the line several times with a lot of water. Kept hitting something, leaving the pressure on the line, and then finally got through it. They brought back a ton of roots. Over the since I've been here, we've done about $20,000 a year on root treatment. This one line has never been on it. So, and unfortunately, all our root treatment for this year was done on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we'll go ahead and make sure it's cut and clean to keep it clean. And this will be hit next year with root control. Or if for some reason we have to bring them back in town, we'll do it then. But I don't think it once we clean it, usually, it doesn't happen right away. But, with that said, next month I'll be here with another bypass. But we'll keep an eye on it, and we'll run it. They have they call it a water hog, which is a big nozzle that they go through it and they break it, and then they go through with another cutter that's the size of the diameter of the pipe, and the cutter cuts all the roots. But once you have roots in there, it's just a matter of time before they start growing back. What happens with the root control is they go in with a chemical and actually, kill the roots. And it's usually good for 5 years. If anything happens before then you have to flush the line and you have a problem with the roots, they'll come back and do the line for no charge.
All right. Thanks everyone for staying with us.
Real quick, I don't know if everybody's met John Clancy. He's on. He's the new replacement for me. I'll still be involved moving forward, probably till next month's meeting. But John is going to be taking the reins. So you'll be blessed with his appearance. So welcome aboard,
Good team, John. Good to have you.
Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to working with you guys.
Yeah.
So this is Quinn. Can I just bring up one more thing? At the end of last meeting, I sent out a bunch of articles on what Chicago's doing with their wastewater as far as making money. Is anybody else interested in exploring that? Whether we can actually generate money from our solids and wastewater?
We do generate some funds through our solids. We sell them.
Right.
I think it's not a large. I think it's like $70,000 a year. I think is the last number.
I mean,
right?
are we just too small? Are we just too small for something like that, or what?
It's not that we're
Not necessarily, but it's a high capital cost up front. And it's also case specific.
Yeah. But we do, like I said, we make money off of the compost. Whereas,
Right.
it's like a $500,000 turnaround, because if we didn't make that 70,000, we'd probably spend over $400,000 getting rid of it. So, I mean, and then you're at the mercy of another municipality or private entity that's running a sanitary sewage incinerator. And there's 5 that handle the whole state. So if they shut down or something happens, you can be, looking for another source to get rid of your sludge at.
Okay, perfect.
One more question. So the question came up, I think last month, whether we wanted to meet in person for our meetings. I believe moving forward, and I see Mark giving a thumbs up. Moving forward next month, I think they're going to let us meet in person, with the option or the caveat that we have some kind of an option for the public to be able to phone in or video in. I don't know who's in favor of it or not, but we might want to have a quick discussion, or we can do so later at a later time. But we can exercise that avenue if we want, I think.
No, let's have a discussion. I'm curious. How does the commission feel?
So I'm actually very interested, but I'll be in Minnesota on September 15th. So I'd like to call in. But I'm just moving forward. I like the in-person idea.
You're just cautious with the deviant,
Right.
strain. With, a lot of the municipalities now have gone to having to wear masks again in any kind of municipal building.
And so forth.
And you've seen what the governor said for schools. All schools are going to have to be masked now.
Yeah, we've already had.
Right. We would have to check and clarify and make sure that we would be allowed to do this, obviously, before we move forward. But
there is a department head meeting tomorrow.
Okay. Do you want to bring it up?
We will bring that up.
Okay.
We take care of the rentals over at Owen Fish, and we've already had a couple of cancellations because of the strain that's out there now, and because going back to masks. So you have to be very, very careful on that.
Chris, do you know if there's a hybrid approach? So in other words, if a couple people wanted to go in person and a couple of people wanted to Zoom in?
I believe so. I think we need to verify, but I believe they've set up some kind of a system electronically that you can do a hybrid system. Yes.
Okay.
So,
They
There
put
must-
some screens in the conference room on the first floor.
Yeah, there must be something, because I was watching the first selectmen's meeting on Monday of this week, and Brenda was in the conference room that we've used, and she
Yeah.
had Sands, and she had the fire chief and some other people, and the other two selectmen, Tom and Nancy, were on their video screen. So there's
Yeah.
got to be some
Right.
facility that they were using that
Right.
handled both in-house and video.
And Sheila just mentioned, we will have to wear masks, so it's a town protocol for meetings, I
Yeah,
guess,
she was
that we
wearing
will
a
have to wear
mask for
masks.
about 5 minutes, then she took it off and put it back and took it off. So
Right.
Let me just caucus the commission. Or Matt, you're more likely to be in person.
I'll do it
Jeff.
in September, yes.
Of course, yes.
yeah, I'm for
Yeah.
in person.
Christian?
Yeah, I'll pretty flexible. I don't mind either approach.
Quinn?
I would prefer remote. I have other issues to deal with.
Sure, of course. And Ron?
Yeah, you know my situation, so I can't do in person for a while.
Okay. So as long as we can do hybrid, we can go forward. If we can't do hybrid, then we keep doing Zoom or.
There's actually a function within WebEx, because I use it at Coca-Cola, that allows the camera to actually, whoever starts talking, it moves the camera to the person that's talking. So, if you're around the table, it kind of moves to wherever it has to move.
Okay. Cool. Well, we'll figure it out. I'm hopeful, but I'm also a realist. So I'll see you all one way or another.
Right. Eventually we'll be back.
Most of you. Matt, safe travels.
And Bill, I will, sometime soon, I will reach back out to you. I tried to get you when you were on vacation, so.
Oh, okay. I did send you an email. You got it though, right?
I got your email, yeah. I just haven't had a chance to try to schedule something to get out there, so.
Sure.
All right. Motion to adjourn
So
from
move.
Matt, second from Ron. All in favor?
Aye.
Enjoy these last few weeks of summer.
Yes.
All right.
Enjoy.
Good
Night,
night,
everyone.
Chris.
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Thanks, everyone.
everyone.